Good morning, and welcome to another exciting edition of Day 4 with the man Frank Scalish, Bassmaster Classic Edition. Does that just get you going, Frank, when you hear Bassmaster Classic Edition for BTO?
Yeah, it gets me going. It got me going a lot better when I was actually fishing in one.
We're going to talk about that today, a little bit of an abbreviated Day 4 with Frank Scalish. Frank is actually, this is Thursday morning, so you're actually traveling from Northern Ohio to the metropolis of Tulsa, Oklahoma, to take in all things Bassmaster Classic and meet your throng of fans and listeners who are excited to get all of the freebies that await them at the Lure Net booth.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait. Actually, I'm pretty excited to go.
I actually have a new piece of I don't know if you call this apparel or possibly flair that I'm going to break out for the Tulsa Classic. My parents actually found this in Illinois at an antique show. Look at this belt buckle.
Outstanding. Nice, dude.
Just as good as it goes. An Oklahoma belt buckle. I'm going to attach that to an ostrich skin belt, call it good, and head to the Classic Expo Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Nothing like a little bling.
It was. So last year, so that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the Classic, maybe reminisce on some of your classics, talk a little bit about changing conditions, because I had Kyle Patrick on BTL last week, and it was his first Classic, and he was intrigued with the fact that they had 3 days of practice and then they're off the water for 4 days. So what they have to do during this time of the year as conditions change is find those fish in a hurry, because if they don't, their Classic dreams are crushed. So we'll also get a little bit of the education in from that, and then give all the odds and ends of who, what, when, where, and why this week at the Bassmaster Classic Expo at Tulsa, Oklahoma. How's that sound for a good game plan, Frank?
Perfect. And actually, my second Classic was all about changing conditions. So
well, just dive right into the changing conditions. Talk a little bit about that one then.
Do you have anything else to lead in on? I mean,
no. Let's get the nitty gritty out of the way. Where we'll be when. So the first time will be the Classic Expo is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So Saturday, 12:30 p.m. Frank will be at the Pradco booth at the Bassmaster Classic Expo. You can get onto the Bassmaster website if you're planning on attend and see exactly where that is, because you want to get there maybe a few minutes early. I expect there be a line, Frank.
Oh, yeah.
Because there are a limited number of color number 7s, the one knocker spook that Frank will be giving out and then autographing. It's your chance to hang out with Frank. So,
and Matt, you will be with me. You will be by my side. My partner.
I will be by your
crime.
side. But I'm just saying, there's a very limited amount of times to get to meet you. I'm all over the place. Like, I'm doing the 9 opens and travel around and stuff. So
I got you.
Just to admit that you're the main attraction for Bassmaster Classic this week. We'll do it as a team. I will be there with Frank too. But you got to be excited for that. Last year, when we did the Classic meet and greet, I thought it was really cool how much the fan turnout meant to you afterwards. Everyone that came up with the stories and the stuff like that, like, really meant a lot to you personally, to see the impact that you've had for all of the 156 Day 4s that we've done over the past couple years.
Yeah, it was exciting. It was very humbling, to say the least. It was very, very humbling. There's a lot of things that happen because of Bass Talk Live that are very humbling to me. I got a DM from Drunkwood. He won a local derby on one of my FX colored rogues.
I heard that.
He was all about it, dude. He said, "What am I going to do with the money I just won?" I go buy more rogues.
Oh, you got to have him take you out for a beer in Tulsa.
100%, dude, without a doubt.
Yeah, check out John King, Drunkwood, INKY, Drunkwood in Kentucky. He makes all sorts of, like, that's his full-time job. Just like what is it? Boliviate? Proliferate?
Bloviate.
But just like we bloviate, he actually makes things with his hands and then out of bourbon barrels and then sends them across the world. Country.
Right.
I don't know if he sends them across the world. He's kind of cranky about shipping. So
Well, we'll just say he sends them across the world. Who cares?
yeah, heck, if you're in Canada, he'll ship it to you for free, right, Frank?
Allegedly. We have to put a disclaimer on that.
Allegedly. Hey, if you guys aren't able to get there Saturday, you can ease up. Sunday, there will also be, we're going to split it up between Saturday and Sunday for the color number 7s. There'll also be a number at noon on Sunday. So if you're just rolling in for the final day of the Classic, also at the Pradco booth, then in between that at 2 p.m. on Saturday after the Pradco booth, we'll be over at the Bass Tank booth, and then we'll kick things off at 11 on Sunday at the Bass Tank booth. No giveaways there, but a good time to come by and talk to Frank. I know you just got your live scope put on from the Bass Tank with Scott Palmer and the guys over there. So that's kind of where we'll be and when we will be there together throughout it. And I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too. It'll be fun. I can't wait. I mean, the Classic is a really cool venue.
Mm-hmm.
It is all that. I mean, it is. The very first Classic that I fished was really bizarre because we couldn't use our own boats. We could only bring a certain amount of tackle. And they literally gave us this itinerary, and every single minute of every single day was spoken for. We had to be somewhere, whether it was signing autographs, whether it was press conferences, whatever, media, the media day, every minute was spoken for. So we literally had to follow the schedule, and then they had, the banquets for us and everything else, and it was really wild for the first one. And the second one was less strict with an itinerary. We we pretty much had a lot of freedom and flexibility to do what we wanted to do, but we had certain venues we had to be at, and we got to use our own boats, thank God. We got to use our own boats. So the irony of it is that when I was down there for the pre-fish, we were on Lay Lake in Alabama, and had a snowstorm, and the lake was flooding, and it was high and muddy, and I was struggling to catch fish. And then I figured out a little pattern, running drains, and it was working. And so I just started running drains. I launched at the dam, and I just started fishing my way to the other dam, basically. And I came by this one, and I noticed clean water was blowing out of it. Everything had filthy, muddy water. This one had clean water. The fish were stacked in the mouth of this thing where it dumps into the main lake. So I decided I'm going up it. I'm going up it as far as I can go. And so I went up this little creek as far as I could go, and I got way the hell up it. And the water was flooded into the woods. And so, which is part of the reason I got so far up it, because there was a lot of water in the system. And so when I had gotten up there, I assessed everything as I was going up, and didn't really run it on plane because it was a little sketchy. And got up there and came to a section that I really liked. There was a lot going on in this little section. And so I picked up my jig, and I was flipping to hardwood trees, oak trees that were in the water on the steeper banks. And every one of these trees had a bass on it. And so I hooked a couple of them, and they were good fish. They were, 3.5, 4 pounders. And then I started shaking everything off after that. And I literally went up this stretch and probably had 30 bites. And so I was like, oh my God, I'm going to win this freaking thing.
It's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a no-brainer. And so I had checked out a couple other sections, and I had 2 more sections that had good quality on them. Plus I had the drains going on the main lake. So I had a backup plan. And as all things happen, nothing stays the same. Nothing stays the same. So I was talking with KVD, and we were yucking it up, and I said, "Hey, dude, if I win this thing, I might have to come to you for some business advice." And he's like, "Yeah," and he goes, "Yeah, no problem." He goes, "But let's take care of one day at a time." so, so I'm like, "Okay, dude, no problem." No problem. So anyway, the long and short of it is, um, I won't go into all the details, but the long and short of it is,
I mean,
um,
feel free to. That's kind of what this show is, Frank.
yeah, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. Um,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Truncate this version.
Yes. So anyway, so I go in there in the morning of the first day of the event, and I don't have a terrible boat draw. I think I'm boat like 20 or 21 or something like that. So I go busting ass up there, and when I hit that creek mouth, I never took my foot out of the gas. I just trimmed it up and I let her eat because I knew I wasn't going to hit anything, at least to a certain point. I wasn't going to
Mm-hmm.
hit anything. So I get up there, and the first thing I notice is that all the trees that I was catching those fish at were bone dry. So the, the water had already come
Nah,
down,
that's typically not good.
and it's not good. And so started I started where I was going to start, and I started fishing, and I caught a limit in 5 casts. And I don't think a single one of them fish was over a pound and a half. And so I started to panic a little bit. I kept fishing, hoping that maybe the bass,
Mm-hmm.
just relocated, but they were still within my reach. And I don't know how many bass I caught. I literally caught a lot, and none of them were any good. They were all small bass, and so I peeled out of there, and I went to it where the shallow water where the first drop came, and it first started getting deeper, and I started fishing there because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're pulling out with the water. So I started fishing there, and I started catching fish again, a couple of tiny little upgrades, nothing major, but I was still getting bit. So I backed out even farther and farther and farther. I could never find the good ones after that. I could never like I spent way too much time up that river system trying to find where the bigger bass went, and I was dying on the vine. I was catching fish the whole while, but
Mm-hmm.
nothing that could help me advance. You know what I'm saying? And so I made the commitment to stay and find them. And it was the worst decision that I ever made because I had other fish going that were better than the ones I was catching, and I should have just bailed. And so when I made the decision to leave, I ran to another spot I had on the main lake and called all them fish out,
Mm-hmm.
but still not what I was catching, nowhere near what I was catching. Anyway, the long and short of it is, the second day I just wung it. I just started over on the second day of the classic. I wound up finishing in 21st, I think, 21st place in that classic. And it did not go at all.
Uh, like you had planned it.
Uh,
That's probably one of the most memorable classics. That was the Jeff Crete and the Kevin Van
KVD,
Dam
yeah,
classic. That I
yeah.
mean, the whole thing went down with inside of the launch ramp. Did you
Hmm.
know that it was going to go down with inside of the launch ramp? Because for my open experience, there's been a number of opens that are won with inside of the launch ramp. And in that being said, that means the entire field literally drove past where the winning fish were and spent way more money and way more difficult not catching them. And everybody in that field goes, "You gotta be freaking kidding me!" When they figure out where it went down. Was that moment for you too when you saw where and how it went down?
I'm going to tell you exactly how that moment went for me. Um, I launched at the launch ramp that we were taking off out of one
Yep.
time, and it looked really good to me. And I said, I am not fishing here because everyone's going to fish here. and I never I never even put my trolling motor down. I was like, dude, I'm telling you. And then when KVD told me where he caught him, I was like, are you bagging me, dude?
Yeah, it was
He's
wild.
like, no. He's like, I'm not even kidding you.
I remember watching it back there. I remember beeswax was just chaos in there. There's half of the field. Like Crete was literally fishing like the takeoff ramp, and they had the Yamaha uh uh demo rides going on in that creek, and all the guys were like, what the hell, there's just boats going in and out like constantly because they were doing the demo
Yeah.
rides in there. They're
Oh
like, well,
yeah.
this is where we do the demo rides.
Yeah, and like ironically enough, KVD at least went underneath the bridge.
Yeah.
It, Creek kind of stayed out where all the
Which
action
ended up
was.
being the magic move because
Yeah.
you can't tell people where they can and can't be, but that bridge created a natural pinch point where he had a pond to himself, and then none of the other anglers could go back in there because he had to go through 50 spectators, and he kind of laid claim to it. And
Yep.
and then it was perfect. He had untouched water. Interesting story about that, Frank. I was talking to Matt Steffen, who just competed in his first Red Crest this past week on Lay Lake. And he said, dude, it didn't go. It was, he had like a finish like you did. I think he might have finished 28th. And he said, dude, he goes, I had the moment though. And I said, what would that moment be, Matt? And he said, dude, he goes, one of the days of practice was really foggy. And he goes, I launch in beeswax. And he said he couldn't really see anything. So he just starts idling, and he idles under the bridge. And he's like, I'll check it out back here and see what it's like. And he says he could kind of hear something, but couldn't figure out what it was. And he said, as the fog lifts, he said, the sun's coming up. He said, there's a fog on the water. And he said, out of nowhere, he said, this red and black boat just appears in the mist. And this gave me goosebumps. He goes, and it's just a practice day. And he said he just stopped. And he said he's a couple cast lengths away. And he said it's Kevin Van Dam in the back of Beeswax Creek in the last professional tournament of his career, because he fished this red crest, slinging a red eye shad in the exact spot where he won the Classic in 2010. And he said it was just him and Kevin back there, and he just was like, whoa.
Yeah, dude, can you imagine if he would have won it doing that? If Kevin would have won it in the same place on the same bait?
10, 25, a quarter of a decade. Was that was 2010, 2020,
it was
15 years later?
2010. Yeah, it was 2010.
2014 years later.
Yeah, because dude, can you imagine? Like that.
I remember Russ Lane had a shot at that derby. Faircloth was up there, but that was the Crete and Van Dam one.
Yeah.
That's what I remember that one for.
Yeah, totally. And I totally screwed the pooch.
Now, let me ask you this, though. There's certain moments that stick out in everybody's mind, whether it's a kayak tournament, your first club tournament, or anything. In the 4 classic days that you've competed, can you remember every single launch, every single fish, every single cast? Is it just as clear today as it was 14 and 20 years ago, or does it not really stick out like that?
I could remember the 2010 one, the 2002. I don't remember any of it because it was all I remember about the 2002 Classic was all the hype. It was like ludicrous, and I got caught up in it all because like we got to the hotel and there's a big banner out and there's cameras everywhere and people want to interview when you're walking in the building, and my wife had never gone to a tournament in her life with me ever. Never. Well, she did after that, but at the Classic, no, she never. That was her first event. And so real casually, like as casually as you could imagine, I got the luggage and they're wheeling it in for us, and there's a billion people there and everybody's pounding you for questions. We go inside the hotel and there's a huge sign, welcome Bassmasters, and there's literally hundreds and hundreds of people there. And I just looked at her and I go, they're all like this. And I was just as dead face and matter of fact as you can possibly be. And she just, her eyes got the size of silver dollars, and she's like, "Are you kidding me?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm kidding you." I said, this is epic. What are you kidding?" And so it was hilarious though. As straight faced as you could possibly imagine, Matt. I just looked at
Oh,
her. I
that's
said,
awesome.
"Ah, they're all like this," and just kept, going on my merry way. She
That's
was,
fantastic.
yeah, she was losing her mind.
That's
But
fantastic.
but yeah, I mean, it was, but the 2010 Classic I remember very vividly because there was stuff happening, um, for me in that Classic. There was stuff happening.
There's a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was like legitimate. I mean, it was like legit.
Do
And
your days go fast? Does it feel like you just launch and boom, it's time to check in the classic?
fastest days on earth. The fastest freaking days on earth. I mean, it was ridiculous. Like the like it like the 8 hours seemed like I just got there.
Mhm.
Like when I said I spent way too much time in that creek on day one, like my day was three-quarters over
Mm,
by the time I made the decision to get the hell out of there.
mhm.
It was a bad decision on my part, but I didn't know it was going to be bad because where did all them big damn fish go? You know
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
don't swim to a different part of the lake there. So I tell you where they were. Now we know they were just suspended out in the middle, Frank. I'm serious.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
I
especially after how Connell won and where he won and on the up the river on the main deal, those fish were up there and they just pulled off and were just floating around like blimps.
Yeah, and you know what's funny? I never ever thought about just chucking a jerkbait across that thing.
Yeah, well, who did until 3 years ago?
Right, because here's the deal. I could almost cast across it.
Yeah. It was
And
probably it was probably a perfect gut, and they were probably just suspended in the gut.
yeah, there
Your
was a
boat was
beautiful,
probably right on top of the winning bag.
yeah, no lie.
But so was everyone else's. I mean, like I said, you were cutting edge. You had the cutting edge technology, the cutting edge techniques.
Hmm.
You had everyone there had cutting edge stuff. I mean, remember all the baits to have reels, rods, I mean,
Right,
electronics, everything was cutting edge back then. It is what it is. Hindsight's always 2020.
sure. So it was really kind of cool. I mean, it was.
Mhm.
I can't deny it. It's something special. I mean, it just is. Where I'm not going to get into this tournament trail or that tournament trail, but since I was a kid, all I ever thought about was Bassmasters, and um, the Classic is the deal. I mean, it not taking nothing away from Redcrest because I've never fished that event.
Mhm.
Not taking anything away from it, but in my mind, the Classic is the place. That's the place to be. So
And you will be there along with myself this
yeah,
week in Tulsa.
yeah, I
All right,
would.
let's get a little bit of the education. We talked about that, and that's what I wanted to mention. And that story kind of dovetailed nicely into a little learning moment. So, kind of taking all that we've learned on how fish behave, what they do, the past day fours. A lot of guys run into this. You can go pre-fish for your local tournament the weekend before. You got to work your 9 to 5. You go practice Saturday, Sunday. You drill them. You go back. You're ready for the Derby. It's been 4 or 5 days later. Maybe there's been a weather change. Maybe there's been a water fluctuation,
Hmm.
and they're not where you left them.
Yeah, that's a very difficult scenario. So you got to ask yourself a couple of things. Are we in spring and are the bass coming to the bank?
So let's say yes. Let's just do
Okay.
that scenario because that's where we are, Frank.
All right. So if it's in spring and the bass are coming to the bank and you found them actually relating to shore in some capacity, if they're not where you found them, there's probably two things that are occurring. They're actually in the spawning grounds already because that's where they want to go, or they're actually spawning right where you're at. You can't see them, and when you found them in practice, there was actually a pure pre-spawn bite going on. And so now the fish are there; they're just honkered down. A bass given the opportunity to put a bed by an object will always put the bed by the object. given the opportunity. So maybe, maybe you go in there and you're flipping this stump and you're not getting bit, where last week you rolled a square bill by it and the thing ran it down for 5 feet to eat it
Mm-hmm.
because it was pre-spawn and now it's spawned. So you got to analyze, you have to analyze the area you're in, and then you have to analyze the weather conditions. Now, I've seen in the spring when the bass goes shallow, and then you have, like, we had snow the other day where I live
I
yesterday, and
bet you loved that.
yeah, I was thrilled. Well, I am kind of liking it a little because I I don't want them to hurry up to the bank. You know what
Okay.
I mean? But anyhow, but so what happens is once the fish get there, a minor snow flurry and some cold weather is not going to make them just leave, because they already made the commitment to be there. So they're there. So if you had, so now you might have to be fishing a frontal condition, a cold front condition. So you may have to change your tactics a little bit. The bass might be tighter to the cover. Their strike window might have went from this big to this big. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? So now you got to start analyzing your conditions. The thing I hate the most about this cold weather period is muddy, dirty water. If the lake is not always muddy or dirty, if the lake always has color to it, it's not as drastic. But if the lake is a clean lake and then it gets muddy, that could be an issue, because that could literally turn the bite off in that area you're in. And then you're going to have to go look for clean water to try to catch some. But I mean, you just got to analyze.
So what I'm hearing is, if you are if you're doing it, your initial where you're starting getting bit, you need to understand why you're getting bit there. You need to look at the water color, the time of the year, how susceptible that section or area of the lake is to blowout, to fresh water running in, what the expected forecast is for the future. So when you come back, you can take into account how it was last week. You can notice what it is 4 or 5 days later and then make the appropriate adjustment. So there might still be a 5-pounder on the stump that you ran by. It just might mean that you have to slow down, tie a jig on, tie a piece of plastic,
Right.
and fish slow. And you're fishing past them. It's not that the fish have left. They're there. You're just not giving them what can elicit a bite. That's good
Right.
advice. That's
Yeah.
easy, because I think the first thing we all think of is, oh my God, they're gone.
Right. But they're not. Here,
And that is what happened to me on Santee Cooper, Frank.
they weren't gone.
Yeah.
They
Were high pre-spawn in the water column from the guys that I've talked to who've caught them in that area. Cause I was like, surely, this is my jam. A lot of the guys that caught him in my area caught him on bottom baits, a jig or a Texas rigged plastic, where I stuck with a wacky worm or a wacky rigged Cinco that was falling slowly, that I was getting bites on in practice. They had made beds down on the base in the roots to where they were difficult to see in the washouts, and a dragging bait past it elicited a strike where they would not come up to eat it like they would 3-4 days before,
Right.
where I found those fish. What you just described is why I finished 160th there.
Yeah.
And I wish we'd had this conversation before.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, I learned the lesson the hard way also. I really did. We had a local tournament here, and this is no lie. So the lake level had come up a little bit, and if the lake froze, okay, so we get the thaw, the spring thaw comes, and there's still ice. There's literally ice, probably 2 inches thick, 8 inches off the water, where all the willow bushes come out of the water. There's chunks of ice like 3 feet, 3 feet by 3 feet. They're like platforms of ice, and there's 8 inches of air underneath them to the water. Um, I had actually found fish in those areas. And you want to know the crazy thing? I wound up taking second in that tournament. And you know what? I was skipping my jig underneath the ice. And the bass,
Oh, come on.
dude, God is my judge. I swear to you. I was skipping the jig underneath the ice, and those bass that were shallow stayed shallow, and they were underneath it. Now remember, they were 8 inches or so off the water. The ice
Yeah.
was in the trees, stuck in the
Yeah.
trees,
Okay.
and the bass were underneath it. They were literally underneath it in where the bushes had come
Yeah.
down
Because
to a
they had
stop.
decided that's where they were and they weren't leaving.
They were going to spawn there, and
Yeah.
they went there and they stayed there. My one buddy tanked the tournament, and he was catching them on shad raps on the points. Okay, and he didn't catch them.
Because they'd gone shallow and they stayed shallow, and he's out there going, dude, it's cold. They should still be on the shad wrap deal, but there had
Yep,
been that warm period where they had moved.
100%. So I mean, you learn lessons. You know what I mean when you're doing this constantly. You learn. That's why we say on this show so many times, nothing beats time on the water,
Yeah, it's true.
and it's true.
All right, some really cool stuff going on over at LureNet, and this is kind of an organic relationship that developed. Like I've been with the Bass Tank for a long time, and Pradco, Yum, and the Bass Tank have also collaborated. If you guys are not able to be at the Classic, fear not, because you still have an opportunity to get something. I'm going to share the screen right here, and this was just announced right now. Yum Bass Tank Garmin LiveScope bundle giveaway. It is on lurenet.com. It is free to enter with the Bass Tank. It's a Garmin EchoMap Ultra 2, a 10-inch Garmin with Navionics, and LVS 34 transducer, the Beatdown Ultimate Shorty Electronics mount. This is literally what I run. And a complete collection of Yum FF sonar minnows and jig heads. It's a $4,400 value, and all you have to do is enter on the website. I do not see where it says it ends, so depending on when you're watching this, I would check it. If it's up, it's up and it's still going. But a great opportunity to get in the game completely free, $4,400. So when you are here, watch this. When you are over at LureNet using the loyal listener code BTL24 to get 15% off your regularly priced items at checkout, make sure you enter the Yum Bass Tank Garmin LiveScope bundle giveaway.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't enter that to win a free live scope and a bunch of FF.
Yeah, there's no it's like there's no trick to this. It's just a giveaway that they're doing.
Yeah, it is. And here's the cool thing. You know, I got this is incredible. I actually got a couple packs of 4 and 5 inch forward facing sonar minnows to do a video on them when the product broke. I didn't get the whole array of colors. They only had a certain amount of packs to give me, so I got those packs and I did the video with them. Well, you guys know I've been catching some fish off of the forward-facing sonar, and the irony of it is that I have been actually catching them on the 4-inch minnow, the 4-inch FF minnow. And the funny thing is like I said earlier, they only gave me a couple packs to fish with. And so I had them, and I'm like, okay, I'll just fish with them, and I figured, well, when they come out, I'll just get them when they come out. You know what I mean? Because they didn't have enough to give me because they just got samples in.
And they're still
So
hard to find.
yeah, so I said I'll get them when they came out. So this morning, the irony of it all is I actually went on LureNet, and I went to buy some, and they're running out of colors in certain of the sizes already and everything, and it's just going off the shelf. So I bought what I could.
Did you use the loyal listener code?
I am such an idiot.
You just bought them. You didn't even use.
I am such an idiot, dude.
Capital BTL 20.
Oh my God, I didn't even use the code. I am such an idiot. I can't. I swear to God, I was in such a hurry. I can't believe I didn't use the code.
So this leads me.
Oh my!
Tread lightly with this question. So this leads me to believe the more time you spend with this, the more you think you might be able to build a better mousetrap.
Yeah.
Are you thinking of better mousetraps to build that from the mind of Frank Scalish might be coming down the pipeline in the next, as we've talked about, we're talking a long time out on production to get stuff on this, but dude, like your whole mind and world has been opened up to a new,
Yeah, I've already got products that are being made right now.
that's gotta be kind of cool. Like stuff you never even have considered years ago or now, like the world is your oyster.
Well, gosh, I got to be careful what I
That's
do
what I
here.
said.
But I
You could just
actually
leave it at that. You could just say yes. I just wanted to tease. That's it.
okay, I'm going to just tease it, but I'm going to say I made this in 2010.
Oh, really? And then you didn't realize that.
We didn't have forward-facing sonar. I was doing something
I like it.
yeah, I was doing something more traditional and actually caught fish in the classic on it.
I like it.
And then the bells went off when the bells. I can't get into detail.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I said I just wanted to tease it because I think I know. I'm not sure though. I know you've mentioned some stuff.
You 100% know.
So yeah, that's something to look forward to in the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, maybe sooner.
Oh,
I'm hoping sooner. Yeah, I'm hoping sooner.
All right. I know you got to pack. I know you got a lot to do. I just wanted to come on and do kind of like a classic show for day 4. Any other burning topics on your mind that you want to get in before we get to the classic here?
No, I mean, I have a lot of show ideas. I want to thank some people for DMing me some show ideas because I'm going to use them
Sweet.
for sure. So if you have any more show ideas, just pipe them in. I don't give a crap if it's forward-facing sonar, traditional. I don't care what it is. Pipe it in. We're going deep. After the classic, we're doing some deep dives. So I'm excited about it.
I'm excited about it too. Looking forward to seeing you. Is Frankie Jr. or any of the other crew rolling down with you, Frank?
I'm just telling you right now, Frankie is coming with me because he is my mechanic and my extra driver.
Oh, I thought you were going to say your DD, and I was like,
no, this is a family-oriented show.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Once again, 12:30 Saturday at the Pradco booth, limited run of the color number 7 one knocker spooks. I don't think those aren't out anywhere. Like this is like the only place you can get them right now, right?
Oh yeah.
Limited run of those, 2:00 on that this upcoming Saturday. The
Bass tank.
Well, we're recording this on the 19th, which is a Tuesday. I'm comfortable to say that. So that would be the 23rd, Saturday the 23rd, and then Sunday the 24th, 11 a.m. at the Bass Tank. And then we'll hold some. It won't just, if you can only get there for the final day, 12 p.m. High noon at the Pradco booth. Do you know if they're going to have the Great Lakes Finesse and Pradco items for sale at the Classic, Frank?
I am not 100%. I don't think so, but Dan from Great Lakes Finesse will be there, so you'll be able to see him. But I don't think they're bringing any retail to the Classic.
I would open this up and show everybody, but it has not ever been opened, and I really don't want to open it. So
yeah, don't open it.
I'm not going to open it.
I could have actually had my original. I kept number 7.
Yeah, you've showed it before. We've shown the color 7 a number of times. So it's going to be an interesting classic for everybody. So I am actually staying at the house during the classic, and we'll be doing late night live shows. After dinner, I'm going to come back, and we're going to get a number of experts. Isn't the word? What pundits? I don't like the word pundit. I just don't like it. I don't like the way it rolls off of my tongue.
Yeah.
I don't like pundit. A number of outdoor riders, people who are in it. We're talking Pete Robbins, Dan O'Sullivan, and we're going to have video interviews from the guys during the day. We're going to do recaps. We're going to talk to 3 or 4 different guys every night.
Nice.
Just stay tuned to basszone.com to see when those times will. I'm thinking probably between 9:30 and 11 o'clock at night on Thursday, Friday, and Sunday night, possibly Saturday. Saturday might be the night that we go out and grab a bite to eat together. And I will probably do it every single night too.
Yeah, just let me know.
I will let you know.
Yeah, I'm flexible.
All right, Frank. I'll let you get to it. I have a bunch of stuff to do to get ready for the classic. Also, stay tuned. Frank Scalish on Instagram.
Scalish_fishing.
Yeah, Scalish_fishing on Instagram. We'll have Frankie Jr. posting your story and on there exactly the times of where you'll be and when you'll be. If you have any questions, at Matt Pangrak on Instagram as well. And then looking forward to it.
Can't wait. See you in a few days, bud.
I'll see you in a few days. Drive safe, Frank.
You too, my man.
See ya.
Adios.